Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to the Voice of the Times for Monday, July 11, 2022. For today's editorial, Marcos offers golden opportunity for China. Under President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., bilateral relations between the Philippines and China are likely to continue improving. He seems to be following the foreign policy started by his predecessor, Rodrigo Duterte. Those policies of the former president helped de-escalate tensions with China regarding territorial disputes in the South China Sea, also referred to by Filipinos as the West Philippine Sea. There are those who perceive Mr. Duterte's initiatives as steps toward establishing an independent foreign policy. Of course, his critics accuse him of being pro-Beijing instead and perhaps also being anti-American. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Regardless, the Philippines cannot ignore China, which is not only a rising superpower but also one of this country's closest neighbors. On the other hand, Manila cannot completely decouple from the United States, the prevailing global power. It is not only a security counterweight in the region, but also a strategic ally. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said that bilateral relations between the Philippines and China were headed toward a higher level, transcending any maritime dispute. He recently visited President Marcos, who accepted President Xi Jinping's invitation to visit China. These developments bolster optimism in the region. Mr. Wang is correct that there are many dimensions to the bilateral relations. As mentioned before in this space, the Philippines should strengthen economic, cultural, and people-to-people ties with China. It is a strategic partner, like the United States, although public perception is clouded by West Philippine Sea issues. Still, China is not the enemy, and it would be counterproductive to portray it as such. That said, most Filipinos remain skeptical about China. Its hardline approach to claiming nearly all of the South China Sea could cost Mr. Marcos some of his well-earned political capital. Clearly, China considers him an important ally based on how they are wooing him, but public support for the new president can sour quickly if China continues to build or reinforce its outposts in the West Philippine Sea. Also, Filipinos are upset that fisherfolk, the poorest of the poor in the Philippines, continue to be harassed by the Chinese enforcing their territorial claims. Hopefully, China will reciprocate the friendly overtures from the Philippines, and with luck, Beijing will grasp that the Philippine president needs trust and popularity in order to govern effectively. Policies may be difficult to insulate from negative public sentiments, which can undermine efforts to befriend China. On a related note, policymakers across the region should take a closer look at the war in Ukraine against Russia, accepting for a moment that Russia was acting in its self-interest by keeping Ukraine from forming military alliances with Western Europe and arresting the expansion of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The invasion had the opposite effect. Western Europe now backs Ukraine with military supplies, and the formerly neutral neighbors of Russia, particularly Finland and Sweden, are poised to join NATO. Of course, the Baltic countries, which were former Soviet states, have been NATO members since 2004. Similarly, in this region, aggressive actions by China might drive countries that prefer neutrality into American arms for security. This seems to be happening in Japan and parts of Southeast Asia, mainly as a response to China's insistence on its so-called 9-dash line that covers 90% of the South China Sea. Already, countries in the region are boosting their defense spending as a response, which is probably not what Beijing wanted. Fortunately, China seems open for bilateral dialogue with the Philippines, although that alone may not allay fears. Still, open communication diffuses tension that could lead to missteps. Hopefully, that can be averted now with the Marcos foreign policy taking shape. As said before, the real threat is war in the region, which can derail the rise of Asia as the global economic hub and development in this century. Clearly, the rewards of peace can be great. Neither the Philippines nor China should miss this golden opportunity. Hopefully, with some diplomatic alchemy, the contentious region can transform from a potential tinderbox into a model of shared prosperity and lasting peace. And that's the editorial for Monday, July 11, 2022. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and listen to the Voice of the Times.
Our longest trusted English newspaper since 1898. Now available digitally. Computer. Order the Manila Times Digital Edition. Subscribed. Get the Manila Times Digital Edition for less than 2 pesos and 50 centavos per day when you sign up for 1 year. The Manila Times, news source of choice, trusted since 1898.